Nashville Soccer Club picks up 2 wins during the week, including a big one against Charlotte FC on Saturday, and a busy week upcoming as well. We'll break it all down coming up on Spotlight. Welcome back to another edition of Spotlight. Nashville Soccer Club continues its climb after a 2-match week, and for a 9-game month, Jalil Anibaba, the depth is tested. It's what we're doing today. Liv Ungurian out under the weather. We hope she feels better, but it's next man up, just like it's been for the boys in gold. 2 matches, 2 victories in 2 different competitions this week.
Yeah, I saw what you did there, and absolutely the depth on the desk, the depth on the pitch is at full effect. And you always know me. I'm a team guy. So whenever the team is showing that the depth, whoever is trusted in the next man up mentality is proving their worth, I'm a happy camper for real.
No doubt about that. And BJ Callahan has to be as well. 1-0 over Chattanooga Red Wolves. Josh Bauer gets the 18th minute goal, ends up being the game winner. Probably would have liked a second or third if you're BJ Callahan. Talked about working on some of those things, but heavy squad rotation on that night, and you move on to the round of 16 to face Orlando in a couple weeks. What'd you take away from that win?
Yeah, as you would expect, heavy rotation, because it's the opportunity to weave players in that maybe aren't getting consistent bites at the apple, 1. But 2, as players, you have to make sure you take a full advantage of any opportunity. Whether you've been starting or not, you get into an Open Cup, you have to do what you need to do. These fixtures are very difficult, trust me. Josh Bauer, for me, has one of the toughest mentalities that we've seen at this club. He's got 3 goals in all competitions, and I love what he continues to do every single time he steps foot on the pitch.
Defender scoring goals has been a theme of this season, and I know you gotta love that. For Bauer, that's the 7th goal scored by a defender in all competitions this year, 6 in MLS play, and that leads the league. Everyone attacks, everyone defends, right? Nashville has encapsulated that. And then they move on to Saturday, quick turnaround to knock off Charlotte, 2-1 in comeback fashion. You get to avenge the loss at Bank of America Stadium. Do it in the same way Charlotte did it to you about a month ago, going down a goal and then quickly turning around. This was an interesting game, right? Number 1, the intensity. It felt like a playoff environment at GEODIS Park on Saturday. Nashville controls the first half. They couldn't break through, quickly concede early in the second, and then quick succession. Hani Mukhtar, Jacob Schaffelberg, 3 points. What did you like about how Nashville responded after coming out at halftime and going down 1-0?
I mean, the response says it all. Says it all with this one. I love the competitive nature of this fixture because you almost never know what you're going to get, to be fair. You always typically have both sides pulling out the best of the other. On the reverse fixture, it was one where, the tides shifted in the favor of the home fans after an unfortunate event with Walker Zimmerman going out. He's still under concussion protocol. But then when it flips back here in Nashville, you could see, okay, now there's a lot to prove. You go down 1, this is a good goal for Charlotte. But then what's the response look like? Come on, man, this is gonna be one of the better goals that we're gonna be talking about in historics for Nashville that Hani scores. And it seems like we've said this time and time again, but what makes it so delicious, so beautiful for me is not necessarily the finish. Although it's prolific, it's the assist from Wheel. Shout out. So what I love is that was just the equalizer. Then Tennessee Waterslide does the rest. And again, you talk about mentality. You talk about depth, getting your opportunity. As soon as Schaff has been infused into the starting lineup, he has not looked back since.
Well, a lot to take away from this game. You mentioned the back heel flick assist. Pretty football there from Alex Muil. Hani Mukhtar's 6th career goal against Charlotte in 7 games in his MLS career against the Crown. He scores his 5th goal of the season, has 4 assists to boot. Jacob Schaffelberg opens his account for 2025. And then how about Patrick Yazbek, a pair of secondary assists, his first 2 helpers of the year. And then finally, Jalil, real quick, we got to tip the cap to Joe Willis. I'd argue that the 2 highest percentage scoring chances on Saturday were the one-on-ones with Wilfred Zaha and Patrick Adjuman. Joe Willis, huge reason why Nashville won on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Willis, the homie, he just does what he does. He doesn't really showboat. He don't flash about it. But he makes so many crucial saves for this side, and he's been doing it since we all got here in 2020. He's kept the team in so many crucial games. This game, to me, epitomizes his value, his worth, and what he's been doing, again, for so many years on the spin.
Nashville up to 5th in the Eastern Conference, 20 points in 12 matches, continues the best start in club history. So the boys in gold have to turn around. Another 2-match week coming up in a busy month of May, Jalil. Wednesday night, the New York Red Bulls come to GEODIS Park to play on this field. It's not often that a Major League Soccer team scores 7 goals in a game in league play, right? We saw Nashville do it against Chicago a few weeks ago. New York Red Bulls does it on Saturday against LA Galaxy in a 7-0 win, MLS Cup final rematch. They get a little bit of revenge there. So two sides that recently scored 7 goals in one outing come together on Wednesday. How different is this matchup for Nashville compared to that match day 2 fixture, 2-0 loss on the road where the boys in gold were pretty shorthanded?
These last 2 weeks sum up to me why MLS is so difficult, especially for the boys in gold as of late. Yes, they've been getting result after result, but it's not easy because if you look at the midweek fixture prior, when you have to play against Chattanooga in the Open Cup, not easy again. And Chattanooga did an excellent job to make the game difficult. You get what you need, advance there. Then you have to turn around, recover, flip it again against a Charlotte team that has been cooking this year. Don't get it twisted. They get the job done. Now you're playing against one of the teams that is the hottest in Major League Soccer with this Red Bull side that's scoring goals for fun. They're getting assists. They're playing with so much freedom. And then DC on the next weekend where it's also going to be difficult for you, even though they haven't been getting the results, very much sums up what could be a business week described for the boys in gold if they continue on the form that they have.
Well, a lot of star power coming to GEODIS Park this week, right? Starting with New York Red Bulls. And look at what Emil Forsberg and Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting have done this season. Yep. Both of them scoring 2 goals in that 7-0 win, making up 4 of that 7-goal tally. Forsberg, Choupo-Moting combining for 11 goals, 5 assists this season. And then you turn around to Saturday and it's Christian Benteke. And we know what that means when you're facing DC United. 6 goals. Now, the thing is, Jalil, he's got about 50% of all the goals DC United has scored this season. So how much of the game plan on Saturday is simply cutting off supply lines for DC's big number 9?
I mean, that's what the game plan is. And that's almost always what the game plan is when you're playing against DC United. Can you limit Benteke? And it's almost impossible because he's going to get his opportunities because he's so dominant in the air. He's very difficult to mark on the back post, whether you have 1 or 2 defenders with him. But it's mostly about denying service as opposed to trying to go 1v1 in your defensive battles with Benteke. But when you talk about the Red Bulls, yes, Forsberg has been killing it. But for me, Choupo-Moting has been saucy. So you have to be excellent in your defensive unit. You have to be cohesive. And most importantly, it is going to be that next man up mentality, not necessarily in the lineup, but if one defender is beat, what does the recovery look like for the rest of the unit to make sure that that initial defender that maybe doesn't get on the right end of the tackle is covered? So for me, I'm going to be very, very interested to see how the boys in gold continue to fortify the defense.
Well, and now this is where things could get interesting for BJ Callahan, right? Because you've had the same starting 11 each of the last 3 MLS fixtures, 2 wins and 1 draw, including the 2-1 victory Saturday against Charlotte. But these games, they're coming hard and fast now, Jalil. Wednesday against Red Bulls, Saturday against DC. You get the benefit of both of them being at home, but how do you kind of walk that line if you're BJ Callahan of continuing the process of what you've been able to establish with that consistency, but making sure everybody's legs are fresh and you're not trying to run guys into the ground and play too many minutes?
You stick with the ethos that he's woven into the club from preseason, that everybody needs to be able to be at the level. And that's not just something that you say. That's not just something that you talk about in the film room or whatever have you. It's when players are ready and they earn their opportunities, go play, go prove it. And if you do what you do, you get rewarded. You notch up just a little bit as far as your status in the club. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to play more, but it means that you earn more and more trust with the manager. But and always for me, you earn more and more trust with the boys in the locker room. And that's what I've seen, whether you talk about Chris Applewhite, whether you talk about some of the other younger players, whether you talk about the newer players that have come to the team, like Brugman, of course, Eddie Tagseth. These are all players that have shown when their number is called, they're going to do what they need to do from an individual standpoint to bring their sauce, their rhythm, their flavor to the joint. But most importantly, they weave all that into the collective.
Nashville, next man up mentality. It's paid off for the boys in gold this season. Defenders coming in and getting goals. You get a little tinge of jealousy when you see a team getting 7 goals out of a defense in one season, just a little bit trying to pull you back.
Nah, you got to listen. When you retire for a reason, you got to be content. I'm content with where I am on this side of the camera. Y'all boys keep balling, and I'm cool where I am.
Retired life, treating Jalil Anibaba well. 2-match week here at GEODIS Park. Nashville Soccer Club knocking on the door of a top 4 spot in the Eastern Conference, and we'll see you out here this week. A busy month continues for Nashville Soccer Club with the 2-match week at GEODIS Park. On Wednesday, the boys in gold host New York Red Bulls. It's hospitality night and Dollar Dog night at GEODIS Park for this Eastern Conference clash. 7:30 the kickoff. And on Saturday, Christian Benteke and DC United make their way to Music City. Kickoff also at 7:30. You can watch both games live on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV or listen live on 104.5 The Zone.